was actually during this stage that I had my first prostate orgasm, and it was a phenomenal, incredibly powerful, almost frightening experience for me just because it was so pleasurable, primal, cosmically expansive, psychedelic. Like, there's a lot of words I could put to it, but it was a very intense experience. Hey guys, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos and go live. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. In this video, I'm going to explain how to have a prostate orgasm. So I think nearly a year ago, I made a video on prostate orgasms for men, and it was more of the what and the why of prostate orgasms, what they are, why you'd want to have one, what the benefits are to this practice, and a little bit of on how to do it. But I wanted to make this video as more of a direct how-to guide to starting to experience this for yourself. I'd recommend checking out that other video, just get a bit more of an overview of this practice. There will probably be a bit of repetition here, but only the most important foundations for this practice. All men are capable of having prostate-centered non-ejaculatory orgasms from zero penis stimulation. In fact, they're hands-free orgasms in the practice I'm going to be sharing with you. You do require a prostate massager for this. I recommend prostate massagers from a company called Enaros. They make absolutely phenomenal products. This is my favorite model. It's called the Helix SYN model. It's a silicone model. So they're about $50. I'll put a link to their website below so you can check it out for yourself. And there's many other companies making similar prostate massagers you can probably find for, cheaper, but I really like the Enaros models. So some very first important things you need to know are that prostate orgasms are very, very different from ejaculatory orgasms. You cannot force this to happen. You cannot stimulate in a certain way and expect the orgasm to happen. This is not a technique of milking the prostate where you're using, vigorous in and out motions around the prostate to stimulate it. That will not achieve the same results. What you're doing with this method is basically inserting a prostate massager and then laying on the floor, doing almost nothing, relaxing completely, and then doing some pelvic floor engagements and using arousal to eventually build to a powerful orgasmic experience. You're very unlikely to have a prostate orgasm the first time you do this, just, to be realistic. For some men, it takes weeks to experience this of, practicing regularly. For some men, it takes months. For me personally, it actually took about 4 years of beginning this type of practice before I actually had a prostate orgasm. But I will say that I wasn't terribly consistent. I would have a session here and there, then months would go by, then I would have another session. So if you're consistent with this, I recommend practicing at least once a week. If you're really serious, practicing a few times a week, but consistency is the key here. Also, I don't recommend doing this every day. Give your system some time to kind of rest and integrate the sessions you're having. So I recommend resting 2 to 3 days in between your sessions with the prostate massager. So for getting started, I recommend having a minimum of 30 minutes for each practice session that you're doing. An hour is even better. 90 minutes is best, right? For me personally, it takes about 90 minutes to get into the prostate orgasm experience, right? So yes, it's a timely practice. It takes time, it takes space, so you have to be able to schedule this into your life. So it's not going to be for everyone, but if you do this, the rewards of the prostate orgasm experience are phenomenal. First of all, it's a mind-blowing, almost spiritual Kundalini awakening type of experience. And also it will really, really deepen your sexual experience, and it can help to really gain awareness of your pelvic floor and the way that sexual energy moves through your body when you're aroused. So first of all, find a comfortable place. You're going to want to lay down on the floor, so make sure you're going to be comfortable laying there for an hour, 90 minutes, maybe even up to several hours, right? So have a blanket, have pillows, do it on your bed, on a comfortable mat, whatever. So have a nice, comfortable space. You're going to want to be relaxed, but also mentally alert and have, some sexual desire when you begin your practice. Arousal is very important for the prostate orgasm experience. I do not recommend watching porn. I actually experimented with that in my early days of this practice, and it did not work for me. It just got me into a very ejaculatory orgasm type of mindset, right? So obviously you're putting something up your butt, so make sure you've had a bowel movement, or you can even use an enema or something like that to clean out your bowels before you stick something up there. Use plenty of lubrication on your prostate massager device. I like coconut oil. You really can't use too much. If you don't use enough, then it can get kind of frictiony and it's very uncomfortable. So use plenty of lubrication on your prostate device. And then when you're ready, insert your device. You want to do this relaxed, don't force it. You want to stay as relaxed as you can during your session, right? So the first thing you do once you're good to go, once you have your prostate massager in, is I usually spend at least 20 minutes, sometimes even more, simply relaxing. You want to really, really relax to get in a completely parasympathetic state and to release all tension in your pelvic floor. This is important. So basically the way I do this is by doing deep abdominal breathing. So inhaling deep into the belly, about a 7 to 8 second inhale or even longer. So taking a nice, slow, deep breath. into the belly, and then exhale, relaxing completely, and especially focusing on relaxing the pelvic floor muscles as you exhale. And it'll be very apparent when you're holding tension there because the prostate massager gives you direct feedback. This is actually great for balancing your pelvic floor as well, this practice. And just this benefit alone is worth the practice because premature ejaculation is usually caused by pelvic floor imbalances for men. So spend 20 minutes just relaxing, just breathing deeply, relaxing. It might be nice to have some like meditative music going, have a nice ambience for yourself. And you don't want to move on from this stage until you feel deeply, deeply relaxed. You feel like your pelvic muscles have just like melted and are completely relaxed. You don't feel any tension or discomfort from the prostate massager, and you just feel like totally relaxed, almost like you're floating. This is the foundation for the prostate practice, basically, right? So 20 minutes of deep, slow breathing. And now you're ready to move on to the next phase, which is doing some pelvic floor muscle engagements. To kind of warm up the pelvic floor, you're going to be alternating squeezing and relaxing. It's this squeezing of the pelvic floor that creates the movement of the prostate massager, and it basically is what massages your prostate. So it's different from doing it externally, like pushing something in and out. That can be very uncomfortable, but this relaxation and using the pelvic floor muscles creates a natural massage of the prostate area. You're going to start feeling that area, feeling new sensations that you've never felt before. And it also helps to bring more blood to that area. So the prostate actually starts to become aroused. It becomes engorged. So at this stage, I recommend keeping that deep belly breathing going pretty much for your entire practice, right? But as you inhale, squeeze your pelvic floor muscles, not like 100%, but just a nice, maybe 50 to 60% of your strength squeezing as you inhale. And then as you exhale, relax completely. Squeeze as you inhale, relax completely. And this stage you can do for just a few minutes. I mean, you can do it for much longer if you want. And at this point, you want to start maintaining a degree of arousal. And it's okay to use some fantasy, but you want to basically split your attention between keeping yourself aroused and feeling what's happening in the prostate area. So you want to really bring your mind into this area, which is basically what the prostate massager is doing for you, right? It's anchoring your mind in this area, stimulating it directly. So as you're breathing and squeezing and exhale, releasing, maintaining some arousal, like just thinking about what is it that turns you on the most, and it'll just allow yourself to kind of indulge in this primal sexual arousal, and it will start to really awaken that prostate area. And so just notice what you start to feel in your prostate area as this is happening. In the beginning, you may not feel much, but over time, there's this process that a lot of people refer to as rewiring, where you're starting to almost like awaken the nerves of this area and create new pathways in your nervous system to experience new dimensions of pleasure. That's the whole thing with the prostate orgasm, is that it's a completely different type of stimulation. It's a completely different sexual experience. So it takes time for your body to integrate this and to create these sort of pathways so that you can start to have these powerful orgasms from this practice. So after several minutes of squeezing and releasing, you're going to move on to the next stage, which is holding a very slight contraction in your pelvic floor. Percentage wise, 0 being you're doing nothing, just relaxing, 100% being you're squeezing as hard as you possibly can, maybe around 30% or so, like a light contraction so that you kind of feel this area engaged. But if you squeeze too strong, you can kind of kill any of the sort of waves of pleasure and the involuntary spasms that will start to happen. So I recommend spending about 5 to 10 minutes in this stage, or really as long as it feels intuitive for you, where you're just holding a gentle squeeze and just maintaining that deep breathing and also keeping yourself as aroused as you can while simultaneously feeling what's happening in your body. Something you can experiment with is like flashing a really sexy thought, like, your deepest sexual fantasy, flash that in your mind and just notice what you feel in your prostate area as you do this, and then just focus on that area. And eventually you'll start to feel every now and then you'll have this like little wave of pleasure in the prostate area. That is the beginning of a prostate orgasm building. And that alone is an amazing milestone to reach, is having some sort of like, sometimes you have these involuntary muscle spasms in the area, or just like this wave of pleasure where you're like, ooh, that feels good. That's a great sign that you're on the right path with this practice. And so after a while of just holding this light contraction, breathing deeply, focusing on staying aroused and just noticing the sensations that arise, I recommend taking some periods where you relax completely. So no contraction. Keep that deep breathing going, keep that arousal level as high as you can, and just notice what you start feeling. It was actually during this stage of just complete relaxation after doing a bit of pelvic floor work that I had my first prostate orgasm. And it was a phenomenal, incredibly powerful, almost frightening experience for me, just because it was so pleasurable, primal, cosmically expansive, psychedelic. Like, there's a lot of words I could put to it, but it was a very intense experience, right? And so spend some time just relaxing completely. And that's basically it, right? There's some more things, some more pointers I'm going to share share with you some other things you can try, but that's basically the process. Is first of all, just relaxing completely for 20 to 30 minutes, and then squeezing as you inhale, relaxing as you exhale, just kind of waking up that area, and then holding a very slight contraction, feeling arousal, breathing deeply, and alternating between that, holding the squeeze statically and relaxing completely. And at this point, you can keep alternating between holding a light squeeze for 5 minutes, relaxing completely for 5 minutes, keeping the arousal going, keeping your breath deep. Some other things you can try are just playing with the very subtle squeezes of the various pelvic floor muscles, right? Like obviously the BC kind of PC area, like the squeezing like you're holding back urine, is the most common one that you'll do, but you can start to isolate all these different muscles. Like there's one specific one, I'm not exactly sure what muscle group it is, but I learned this by using a prostate massager where it's like, it almost feels like I'm squeezing my tailbone. It's very subtle. Simultaneously, I'll kind of draw my belly in. It feels like this like sucking action's happening. So I was doing this simultaneously. I was breathing deeply. I was holding that kind of like tailbone kind of engagement. It's hard to explain, right? I don't really know what these muscles are. And also like very slightly pulling in my belly. And I started like kind of almost like slightly squeezing my legs and my feet, almost like I was sucking up something from my feet. And I got into this orgasm state. It was incredibly powerful. It felt like this electricity was moving through my whole body. So those are some other things you can experiment with. But that's basically it. For some people, it's going to be the like certain pelvic floor engagements, even like working with the belly, even like pushing out, like you're, pushing out a poop, right? Gently, and just experiment with these different slight engagements and notice what that does for you. But for some people, it's going to be complete relaxation that does it, and it'll be different for each person. So those are all the things to play with. Basically, that's how you do it. That's basically what sets the stage for it. The truth is that there's no real like specific technique. Like if you do this, A plus B equals C. If you do this, then you will experience the prostate orgasm. It's not really how it works. It's going to be different for everyone. It's really a process of, again, awakening the prostate, rewiring your system to experience these new sexual sensations. It's completely different experiencing stimulation in your prostate area than experiencing penile stimulation. So we've had this one pathway of sexual experience, kind of ingrained into ourselves. So opening up a new one can take a bit of integration for a lot of men. So I recommend you be realistic with your goals. Don't expect to have a prostate orgasm the first time you do it and get disappointed when you don't. Just expect, okay, it's not going to happen, and it probably won't even happen the first several sessions you have. It may not happen for months or even years. It's just the way it is. So set some realistic goals for yourself. Like, okay, my goal is to simply be more relaxed. This is a very relaxing practice, to get more in tune with this area of my body, to learn how to use the various pelvic floor muscles and relax this area completely as well. Those benefits alone are worth the practice. And most people will very quickly start to experience some sort of like pleasurable sensations in the prostate, these little like waves of pleasure you'll start to feel in your prostate and anal area. And it just takes time. Like in the beginning, I recommend trying it for about 30 minutes just to like get into the relaxation stage. But after you've had a few sessions, I recommend doing a minimum of an hour to 90 minutes per session, because that's just how long it takes to really get in these states of pleasure. And once you're in that state, for me, again, it's about 90 minutes, I start to experience some phenomenal sensations in that area, right? And the whole prostate and anal area becomes very, very sensitive. It becomes like an erogenous zone. It's an absolutely incredible feeling experience. It's very, very pleasurable. And it's also important to understand that the prostate orgasm isn't just gonna like come on really quickly like an ejaculatory orgasm. You're gonna feel it in waves. Like you'll feel like something's building slowly. You'll feel a little bit of pleasure waves, and then like you'll feel like this kind of butterflies in your something, and it'll feel like something's coming, and then it might die off, and you get disappointed, like, oh, I thought I had it, but it was gone. Don't let that, keep you from practicing. Again, it takes time to really get this down, but the more you're consistent with it, the more that you practice this again and again, the more you'll be able to sustain these pleasurable states and eventually get into higher and higher states of pleasure until you reach that super O, as it's known, this prostate orgasm state, right? You'll know you're on the right track when you're having involuntary muscle spasms. Not everyone will have that. You may be having just like waves of pleasure through your nervous system. For me, the onset of the prostate orgasm is like this butterflies in my stomach feeling, and it starts to feel like electricity is moving through my whole body. I go into a very altered state of consciousness. It becomes incredibly intense. And that's when you know you're on the right track, right? And when you're in that state, just keep your arousal high as much as you can. Keep the breathing deep. That's what I've noticed is one of the major keys for me, is keeping this deep breath going. It's easy to get distracted by the pleasure you're feeling, and then it kind of dies off. So keep that deep belly breathing going, really breathing into your belly, breathing into the pelvic floor region. And that's what's going to help keep feeding that orgasm. And that's really about it. Keep practicing that, when you're mentally alert and then when you have some sexual desire. Regulating ejaculation is very important as well, because if you do this the day after ejaculating, you probably just won't have the sexual drive to experience this type of orgasm. So I would wait at least 2 to 3 days after an ejaculation to expect success with this practice. Again, I recommend doing this at least one time a week. Even if you do it once a month, you'll get some benefits, but the more consistent with it you are, the more you will progress and the more likely you will be to start having the prostate orgasm. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm thinking about putting together like a course or a masterclass on really teaching some of the foundational practices and the process of rewiring the prostate and being able to experience prostate orgasm. So any questions you have, let me know in the comments. It will let me know like what you guys are struggling with, what's holding you back from experiencing the prostate super orgasm. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. Have a great day, my friends.